everybody, this is Preeti from It's a Pretty World. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm using this stamp set called Snowmen with Presents to create a slimline card. What I want to show you in this particular card is that you can take any basic stamp set that you may have in your stock and create a slimline card by stretching or by extending the products that you have. So I'm going to start off by stamping this snowman from this set, and the snowman almost looks like he has both his hands open, and I thought that maybe it would be a nice idea to put multiple presents on both of his hands, as if he's carrying presents to his friends. Anyway, so I'm stamping this snowman with Memento black ink, and the reason for that is because I will be using my Copics to color the snowman. Now I'm creating that heap of presents that I would like to place on his hand. So I'm starting off by the largest heap of presents stamp that comes in the stamp set, and I'm just adding it using the same black ink, and I've created a mask. And now this mask, you don't have to really cut the entire mask. All you need to cut is just the top portion of that stamp image. So you just stamp the image on your masking paper, and then you just cut the top part, which is just the ribbon bow of the present, and then it's ready for your next step. And then I'm going to take the next present that is in the same stamp set. There are 4 different kinds of gift stamps in this stamp set. There are 2 that are heaps and 2 that are single. So now I'm stamping the single one as the second one on that set. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just place that on the place where I've added the masking tape, and then I'm going to stamp it. Again, mask that image, and then stamp the next present. So that'll make it look like it's one above the other, that it's in a heap, that and there's no overlap of the stamps. If you were not to mask it, then there would be an overlap of the stamps line on the previous stamp, and that wouldn't look good. So that's the reason why I masked it. And now I'm just removing all the mask, and you can see how beautifully it's stamped, and you can see that it is a large tall heap of presents that the snowman's going to hold in his hand. I also wanted one more single gift in his other hand, just one gift, so I've just gone ahead and stamped them. I went ahead and colored all of these images off screen using my Copic colors. The coloring is, I kept it very simple. And then I have gone ahead and also die cut this postage slimline what you call die, using a white cardstock, and I'm going to mask off the edges of this die that I have that I just die cut on this white cardstock. And I just want a very thin, so where I'm masking off is that this die has a stitched line, so I'm taking the masking tape right to the edge of that stitched line, and I'm going to mask that area off. And then when I'm done ink blending, that's what I'm going to do on this cardstock here right now, is I'm going to do some ink blending. So when I'm done ink blending it, I will have that beautiful white border that shows the beautiful postage edge of this cardstock, and you will see as I progress along. So I've just taken a few Distress Oxide inks, and I'm just ink blending these colors. Now you can also ink blend using the color fuse inks, and that'll work perfectly as well. I just wanted these colors, and that's the reason why I chose Distress Oxide inks, but color fuse ink work beautifully as well. So I'm just taking 3 different shades of inks, and then I'm just going to blend them together, just creating like an ombre effect, from the blues to the light pink to a darker pink. And yes, these colors are a bit non-traditional holiday colors, and I kind of like the look of non-traditional holiday colors for the holiday season. So I'm just creating this background for the snowman, and I'm just taking off that masking tape, and you can see that white border that it has left, and it really looks beautiful. And now it's time to just assemble this card. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to place that snowman and then this heap of presents. And you can see how it's so proportionate because I created the tall heap of presents. It's very proportionate to a slimline card. If it was to hold just two tiny presents in his hand, the tall slimline would look very bare and minimal, and it wouldn't be proportionate. So I just want to stamp the sentiment onto this panel, but I want to make sure that that panel is nice and dry. So I'm heat setting it, and I'm adding the embossing buddy so that the embossing powder does not stick anywhere. But I'm just doing a test run here even before I stamp the sentiment. I'm just adding the white embossing powder just over this blended cardstock just to see this, and you can see that it is still wet, and the embossing powder is sticking in where I don't want it to stick. So I'm just going to repeat that process. I'm going to heat set it once more, making sure that the paper is nice and dry, and then again apply some embossing powder on it to see if there's any stickiness. And now you can see this time that it didn't stick anywhere. So now I know it is ready for embossing. So I'm just going to place this on my Misty, and I'm taking this sentiment, and the sentiment that I'm going to use is from the Merry Christmas stamp sentiment, and they're beautiful sentiments. Not they're all Merry Christmas, but they're very beautiful fonts that I really like. And there's one particular sentiment in this stamp set, and it's called have a holly jolly Christmas. And I'm just going to place that on the left edge of this stamp of this cardstock, and I'm just making sure that I have enough place to place my other elements later on. And now I'm going to just stamp this onto this cardstock using embossing ink and white embossing powder. And I'm just going to put my white embossing powder, and I'm going to heat set that. I just put it multiple times. I'm adding the powder multiple times, just making sure that I've got the embossing powder covered in every inch of that sentiment. It is a large sentiment, so I want to make sure that the embossing powder was covering every part of it. And then I just heat set it, and you can see how beautiful the sentiment looks. And I really like that sentiment, that really long sentiment. It anchors the image at the bottom beautifully in this really tall slimline card. And I'm using some of the snowflakes as well, which come in the same die, which come in the same set, the Snowmen present set, and I'm scattering them all over the place. Again, you can create a very similar card in a regular A2 size card as well. All you're going to do is you're going to maybe not use a heap of gifts, presents in the snowman's hand, and maybe you won't use this tall sentiment. Instead, you will use a shorter sentiment, and you can easily make it into an A2 size. But I want to show you that how you can take a basic stamp set that you may have in your stash and make a slimline card. And now I'm just going to, now that I'm done with embossing and heat setting everything, I'm just going to start placing my elements. So I've just placed the snowman at the bottom using foam adhesive, and I'm going to add foam adhesive to the present as well, but I'm going to leave the bottom edge of that present heap without any foam adhesive, because I will just add some liquid glue to that part, and I'm going to glue that onto his stick hands. And the reason that I didn't add foam there is because I wanted everything to be in the same level, and I didn't want to add any bulk anywhere, and miss the and kind of make it uneven, and that was the reason. So the same thing I'm doing with the second present as well, the single present as well, in his left hand now. I'm just adding foam on the top part of the present and a liquid adhesive on his hand itself, and adhering it. That makes it flush, everything flush to the card base. And now all I'm doing is I'm taking this pre-scored slimline cardstock, and you do get this in the Rubbernecker store. in white color, and it's so easy when you're getting ready to make slimline cards. And all I'm going to do is add a ton of foam adhesive to the back of this, because this because it had taken a lot of heat, it did warp a bit on me, so I wanted to make sure it was nice and flat, and that's the reason why I added so much of foam adhesive. Obviously, like any cards that I usually make, I do need a little bit of shimmer, so I'm just taking this sequence, iridescent sequence, and I'm going to add that as a scattering over this to add this cardstock, and that pretty much completed this card. I hope I inspired you to create a slimline card using the stash that you have in your stock, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.